Triad 10. The Triad's origin. Wasn't criminal, it was revolutionary. Before the Triad became synonymous with drug smuggling and underground casinos, it started as something entirely different, a secret society fighting for justice. The organization traces its roots back to 17th century China during the fall of the Ming dynasty. When the Manchus established the Qing dynasty in 1644, a resistance group known as the Tiandihui, Heaven and Earth Society, was born. Their mission? Restore the Ming and expel the foreign Qing rulers. Members of the Tiandihui swore sacred oaths of brotherhood, often sealed with blood rituals beneath incense smoke. They believed heaven and earth were witnesses to their loyalty, hence the name. What began as a patriotic underground movement slowly evolved into a powerful secret network that could protect its members, gather funds, and even manipulate local officials. Over time, the group's structure, based on codes, hand signals, and secret initiation ceremonies, made it ideal for covert operations. When China's political landscape changed, the Triad adapted. As the dream of restoring the Ming dynasty faded, many branches turned their skills toward survival, smuggling goods, running gambling dens, and controlling ports. By the 19th century, the once noble Tiandihui had transformed into the modern Triad, a complex web of societies operating across China, Hong Kong, and Southeast Asia. Ironically, an organization that began with patriotic ideals became one of the most feared criminal empires in history. The symbolism remained, though. Even today, rituals, dragon emblems, and coded numbers like 489, which refers to a mountain master, trace back to that ancient revolutionary spirit. Beneath the surface of crime lies a ghost of rebellion, a reminder that the Triad S bloodline started not in greed, but in loyalty to a lost dynasty. Number 9. They created a secret hierarchy that outclassed the military. If you think the Triad was just a bunch of thugs, think again. Their organization was built like a shadow army, with ranks, codes, and oaths that rivaled imperial bureaucracy. The Triad's chain of command is so detailed it almost feels military. At the top sits the Shan Chu, or Mountain Master, the supreme leader. Beneath him are lieutenants called Fu Shan Chu, or Deputy Mountain Masters, and enforcers known as Incense Masters who oversee loyalty rituals. Every role had a numerical code, a system borrowed from ancient Chinese numerology. The 489 was the Mountain Master, 438 referred to red poles, fighters and enforcers, 415 represented the white paper fan, an advisor and strategist, and 432 was the straw sandal, the messenger or coordinator. Even ordinary members, known as 49ers, had their number derived from ritual initiation texts. These codes made it nearly impossible for outsiders to decode communications or infiltrate the network. Meetings often took place in tea houses or temples, under the cover of festivals and prayers. Messages were passed using poetry, riddles, or even subtle gestures involving teacups. Breaking the code of silence meant instant expulsion, or death. The organization prized loyalty above life itself. To earn full membership, an initiate had to pass a ceremony involving blood, oaths, and symbolic offerings, often including a sacrificed chicken or a sword, crossing over incense sticks. He would swear allegiance to the 36 oaths, promises that bound him to the brotherhood for life. These oaths covered everything from loyalty to secrecy to the prohibition against betrayal. What's chilling is how modern triads still follow this structure. Even in Hong Kong or Vancouver, you can find groups using the same ancient ranking numbers and ritual phrases that originated hundreds of years ago. It's no coincidence that this organization has survived dynasties, revolutions, and crackdowns. The hierarchy ensures that even if the top leaders fall, someone else always rises, because every man knows his place, his code, and his loyalty. From an anti-imperial movement to a global criminal empire, The Triad's structure turned chaos into discipline, the very reason it remains unbroken after centuries. Date: the Triad spread worldwide, long before the Internet or airplanes. Long before anyone could book a flight or send an encrypted message, the Triad had already gone global. When the British took control of Hong Kong in the 19th century, thousands of Chinese laborers migrated overseas, to Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, the United States, and Canada. Many of these migrants sought protection, community, and connection. And who was ready to offer all three? The Triad. They didn't expand through conquest, they expanded through culture. Wherever Chinese immigrants went, Triad lodges followed, disguised as benevolent societies, martial arts schools, or business guilds. In places like San Francisco's Chinatown or London's Limehouse district, they provided jobs, housing, and loans when banks refused to help. But behind those good deeds was a darker agenda. The same networks that helped the community also trafficked opium, smuggled contraband, and enforced loyalty through fear. In the late 1800s, British colonial officials described the Triad as a hydra. Cut off one head, and two more appeared elsewhere. Police crackdowns in Hong Kong only pushed them deeper underground. By the mid-20th century, Triad branches had grown into sprawling international syndicates. They smuggled gold between Hong Kong and Macau, laundered money through casinos, and built strongholds in North America, especially in Vancouver, San Francisco, and New York City. In the U.S., law enforcement began noticing Triad fingerprints on everything from counterfeit goods to illegal gambling parlors tucked behind Chinatown restaurants. The FBI discovered that Triad affiliates were moving millions of dollars in heroin disguised in shipments of tea and ceramics. And yet, what made them so effective wasn't brute force. It was invisibility. They didn't rely on flashy violence like the Italian mafia. They operated through mutual obligation and ancestral loyalty, the kind that kept silence absolute. You might be sharing a dim-sum table with a Triad lieutenant and never know it. By the 1990s, Triad influence had penetrated industries beyond crime. Some Hong Kong film studios were rumored to have Triad backers who financed movies in exchange for favors or money laundering. Even popular actors like Jet Li and Andy Lau reportedly had to navigate this shadow world carefully during their early careers, as Triad involvement in the entertainment industry was an open secret. Today, Triad activity extends from real estate scams in Vancouver to cybercrime in Macau, proving that even as technology evolves, the Brotherhood has mastered one thing: survival through adaptation. Wherever there's Chinese diaspora, a whisper of the Triad's presence isn't far behind. Year 7. They used rituals and symbols to keep members obedient for life. One of the reasons the Triad has lasted for centuries lies in its mastery of symbolism and ritual psychology. This wasn't just a criminal gang. It was a spiritual fraternity built on mysticism, fear, and family. The initiation ceremony is legendary. New recruits would enter a dark room lit by candles and incense. In the center, a sacred altar bore a portrait of Guandi, the Chinese god of war and loyalty. The Triad as patron deity. The initiate would kneel before him, slice a finger, and let his blood drip into a cup of wine mixed with that of his brothers. After reciting the 36 oaths, he would drink from that cup, sealing his bond forever. The oaths weren't simple promises, they were binding curses. One line famously swore, "If I betray my brothers, may my body be cut into 10,000 pieces." This wasn't poetic exaggeration. It was a psychological anchor. By fusing religion with fear, the Triad created loyalty that no police force could crack. Their rituals also carried deep symbolic meaning. The triangle, for example, represents the union of heaven, earth, and man, the spiritual foundation of their brotherhood. The word Triad itself came from this idea. Numbers, colors, and gestures all held coded significance: red for loyalty, green for money, white for purity of the oath. Even the way they greeted each other had meaning. Members might fold their hands in a certain way or exchange subtle verbal cues that only insiders understood. These ancient codes ensured that even when one group was destroyed, the knowledge could live on through a handful of trained initiates. What's astonishing is how consistent these rituals remain. In Hong Kong, police raids have uncovered initiation manuals dating back to the 19th century, complete with diagrams of ceremonial layouts, oaths written in classical Chinese, and even music notations used during the ceremony. Psychologists who studied former members say the rituals were designed to rewire identity, to make a man believe he belonged to something greater than himself. Leaving wasn't just dangerous, it was spiritually unthinkable. To betray the Triad was to betray heaven and earth. That's why even modern triads operating in skyscraper offices and luxury nightclubs still light incense, still swear oaths, and still honor Guandi. Because in their world, faith isn't religion, it's control. Durga 6, the Triad once controlled entire cities like shadow governments. If you walked through Hong Kong's Kowloon-walled city during the 1970s, you weren't entering a neighborhood. You were stepping into another world, one ruled by the Triads. This dense labyrinth of stacked concrete buildings, narrow passageways, and unmarked rooms was home to nearly 30,000 residents crammed into a space smaller than a city block. Yet there were no police, no taxes, and no official government oversight. Inside, the law belonged to the Triad. Gambling dens, heroin factories, brothels, and unlicensed dentists all operated under their watch. Electricity was stolen, water pipes were self-made, and entire families lived in rooms the size of closets. For most outsiders, Kowloon was chaos, but for the Triads, it was order, a perfect ecosystem of profit. They collected protection fees, resolved disputes, and even enforced curfews. In a twisted sense, they were both criminals and community leaders. Police didn't dare enter without heavy backup. Reporters who tried to document life inside often disappeared or were escorted out by polite but armed guards. It was the Triad's ultimate success story, a functioning city-state within a city, invisible to the crown government. And it wasn't just Hong Kong. In Macau, Taiwan, and southern China, Triads infiltrated everything from ports to night markets. They controlled food distribution, construction contracts, and nightclub security. In Macau's casinos, rival Triad groups like 14K and Wo Unlock fought bloody wars over territory and influence. Dozens were killed, yet police remained powerless. The Triads had already bought off high-ranking officials. Even outside Asia, echoes of this control existed. In New York City's Chinatown, Triad-affiliated gangs such as the Ghost Shadows and the Flying Dragons imposed their own street laws. Store owners paid protection fees, rival groups were disciplined, and immigrants seeking help were told to ask the brothers. For decades, entire communities operated under this unspoken governance. Sociologists later called this phenomenon shadow rule. When an illegal system becomes so embedded that people depend on it for safety and survival, it as both a tragedy and a genius of the Triad's design. They made themselves indispensable. By the 1990s, Hong Kong's Triads even influenced political decisions. There were rumors that certain candidates received silent support from underground bosses to ensure friendly outcomes in the city, as chaotic transition years before 1997. Though never publicly proven, the whispers said it all. The Triad wasn't just under the surface of society, it was the surface, wearing the mask of normalcy. To this day, many Hong Kongers who lived through the walled city years still say that while the Triad was terrifying, it also kept order in a place where the government wouldn't. That paradox, power born from absence, remains one of the reasons the Triad could endure while empires rose and fell around them. Brother 5. The Triad played a hidden role in modern politics and revolutions. While most people imagine the Triad as nothing more than gangsters, the truth is far more complex and far more political. Beneath the criminal empire lay a long tradition of revolutionary ambition. Remember, the Triad began as the Tiandi-Hui, sworn to restore the Ming dynasty. Even after centuries of crime, that rebellious spirit didn't die. It simply evolved. In the 19th century, Triad branches supported uprisings against the Qing dynasty, most notably the Taiping Rebellion, one of the bloodiest civil wars in history. Their members smuggled weapons, distributed propaganda, and assassinated government officials. They even helped Sun Yat-sen, the founding father of modern China, raise funds for the 1911 revolution that overthrew the imperial throne. Many early Republicans were former Triad members or allies, blurring the line between patriot and outlaw. But politics cuts both ways. By the mid-20th century, Triads were no longer rebels. They were kingmakers. In Hong Kong during the Cold War, British authorities quietly tolerated some Triad leaders because they opposed communism. It was a case of the enemy of my enemy. In return, Triad networks helped suppress pro-communist riots in 1967, acting as unofficial enforcers. After the Chinese Communist Party took control of the mainland in 1949, thousands of Triad members fled south to Hong Kong. Ironically, the CCP later used Triad-linked smugglers to obtain Western goods and technology banned by sanctions. Politics, ideology, and profit had fused into one murky alliance. Even today, rumors persist of links between Triad leaders and mainland business tycoons with political ties. In 2019, during the Hong Kong protests, masked men wearing white shirts attacked demonstrators at Yuen Long Station, and witnesses claimed they recognized known Triad faces among them. Police hesitated to intervene, fueling speculation that parts of the underworld had once again aligned with political power. In Taiwan and Southeast Asia, Triads have shifted tactics. They invest in legitimate businesses, logistics, construction, even film production, but maintain their underground influence through bribes and silent intimidation. Some Triad leaders sit on corporate boards while quietly funding politicians. Their methods are subtle, but their goals remain the same: protect the Brotherhood's interests no matter who rules the country. In a strange twist of history, the organization that once fought to overthrow governments now survives by influencing them. The revolutionary blood of the Tiandi-Hui still flows, but it now buys suits instead of swords. It's a chilling reminder that power, once born in the shadows, doesn't always stay there. The Triad learned that the real battlefield isn't the street, it's the system. Year 4. The Triad's business empire makes fortune. 500 companies look small. Forget the street-level image of gangsters with tattoos and machetes. The modern Triad is a multinational enterprise that would make Wall Street envious. From drug trafficking and money laundering to shipping, finance, and even entertainment, the Triad operates like a corporate empire hidden in plain sight. Their most profitable ventures are far beyond the cliches of gambling or extortion. Over the last few decades, Triad syndicates have dominated the global narcotics trade, especially in the production and distribution of methamphetamine and heroin. Labs hidden in the Golden Triangle, that treacherous region where Thailand, Laos, and Myanmar meet, have pumped billions of dollars worth of drugs into Asia, Australia, and North America. Much of this trade has been orchestrated or protected by Triad-affiliated groups such as 14K, Sun Yee On, and Wo Xing Wo. And drugs are only one arm of the operation. The Triads are also deeply involved in counterfeit goods, illegal wildlife trade, cybercrime, and human trafficking. Fake luxury handbags, pirated DVDs, endangered animal parts, all these flow through routes that often trace back to Triad-controlled logistics networks. They move their profits through shell companies, real estate, and cryptocurrency exchanges, transforming dirty money into clean investments faster than most banks can trace. In fact, law enforcement agencies estimate that the Triad's combined annual revenue could exceed $100 billion, on par with some of the largest global corporations. Yet, unlike corporations, the Triad has no public records, no shareholders, and no taxes. Its only accountability is to the code of brotherhood. One of the Triad's cleverest tactics is using legitimate businesses as camouflage. In Hong Kong and Macau, Triad-linked companies own chains of karaoke bars, nightclubs, and construction firms. In North America and Europe, they have invested in shipping, import-export firms, and cryptocurrency mining operations, allowing them to blend in with legitimate commerce. A 2018 investigation revealed that Triad-backed groups had laundered millions through Vancouver's real estate market, inflating housing prices and distorting the economy. They didn't need to threaten anyone. They simply bought influence. In the digital age, violence has become bad for business. Manipulation is more profitable. To protect these interests, Triads employ lawyers, accountants, and political consultants. The modern mountain master doesn't carry a sword. He carries a smartphone and a team of financial advisors. Their meetings happen in boardrooms and luxury hotels rather than smoky tea houses. Yet beneath the new suits and modern jargon, the old rules still apply. Loyalty, secrecy, and profit above all else. When an insider turns informant, the retribution can still be medieval. The code remains unbroken. What's terrifying is that while law enforcement tries to adapt, the Triad evolves faster. Every time governments ban a method of laundering or trafficking, they're already one step ahead. They've learned that the best way to hide isn't in the shadows. It's in the spotlight, behind the mask of legitimate success. There are 3. The Triad's rivalries are as brutal as civil wars. While outsiders imagine one unified Triad, the reality is far bloodier. The so-called Triad isn't a single organization. It is a collection of hundreds of rival societies, each with its own hierarchy, symbols, and territory. And when these groups collide, the results are explosive. 2 of the largest modern Triads, Sun Yee On and 14K, have fought wars that span continents. The Sun Yee On, founded in the early 20th century in Guangdong, is known for its strict discipline and massive financial empire. The 14K, on the other hand, is notorious for its militancy. Its members are often described as the soldiers of the underworld. Their rivalry erupted in Hong Kong during the 1970s and 1980s, turning the city's nightlife into a battleground. Gangsters carried cleavers instead of guns to avoid drawing attention, and entire nightclubs would erupt into chaos within seconds. Civilians were often caught in the crossfire. Police reports documented hundreds of slashings, kidnappings, and executions, many committed with surgical precision. But the conflict didn't stay in Hong Kong. As both groups expanded overseas, they brought their feud to Macau, Vancouver, and even Sydney. In 1992, a major Triad war broke out in Macau's casino scene. Dozens of bodies turned up in alleyways, and bombings shook the city's tourist districts. Rival bosses used contract killers and corrupt police officers to gain control of the gambling industry. These wars were not just about money, they were about pride, loyalty, and power. A single insult could spark years of bloodshed. To outsiders, the Triad seemed united, but internally, it was a shifting battlefield of alliances and betrayals. One particularly brutal episode occurred in 1996 when a 14K hit squad ambushed a Sun Yee On gathering at a nightclub. Dozens were injured, and the retaliation came within hours. Hong Kong newspapers called it the Night of the Red Lanterns, a gruesome reminder that the Triading-esque code of brotherhood doesn't extend to its enemies. Even today, these rivalries simmer beneath the surface. In recent years, cyber attacks, fake news campaigns, and cryptocurrency frauds have replaced machete fights, but the principle is the same. Destroy your rival's influence no matter the method. Law enforcement agencies struggle to dismantle the Triad not just because of secrecy, but because taking down one group often benefits another. Like feudal lords fighting for power, they keep each other in check, and that constant tension keeps the whole system alive. The irony? Their wars have made them stronger. Every conflict weeds out the weak, leaving only the most disciplined, cunning, and ruthless factions standing. It's natural selection in the underworld, and while governments come and go, while empires rise and collapse, the Triad's wars continue. Silent, profitable, and endless. 2. The Triad. S. Influence on pop culture. Isn't. T. Fiction. It. S. Foreshadowing. When Hollywood or Hong Kong cinema shows Triad bosses in sharp suits, sipping tea in smoky rooms while planning ruthless power plays, it's not far from the truth. What's fascinating and terrifying is how accurately pop culture has captured their reality. Movies like Infernal Affairs, which inspired The Departed, Election, and Young and Dangerous didn't just dramatize the Triad world, they reflected it. Many directors and actors in Hong Kong Edding's golden movie era of the 1980s and 1990s had direct encounters with real Triad members. Studios needed funding, and the underworld had cash. The deal was simple: provide protection or investment, and in return they'd get influence, cameos, or even control over scripts. According to film insiders, refusing to cooperate wasn't an option. Some producers who rejected Triad backing mysteriously vanished, while others suddenly faced accidents or bankruptcy. One film star once confessed that even choosing which movie to star in sometimes required underworld approval. The entertainment industry became both a mirror and a playground for the Triad's myth-making. But their reach didn't stop at Asia. Western fascination with the Triad turned into a cultural phenomenon. From Rush Hour to John Wick 4, the image of the cool, code-bound Chinese syndicate became a cinematic archetype. What most audiences don't realize is that those scripts were often inspired by real reports from Hong Kong AS crime archives. Even video games like Sleeping Dogs and Grand Theft Auto V drew from Triad lore, their hierarchy, loyalty codes, and rituals. The result? The Triad became romanticized as the Eastern counterpart to the Italian Mafia or Japanese Yakuza. But behind the cinematic glamour lies the grim reality: intimidation, trafficking, and systemic corruption. In Hong Kong, some young men still idolize the Triad lifestyle because of these movies: the tailored suits, the brotherhood, the sense of belonging. Former Triad members have admitted that films glamorized their life, making recruitment easier. "People thought we were heroes," one ex-member told a local reporter, but they didn't see the fear, the paranoia, the blood. In the end, cinema didn't just portray the Triad. It preserved their legacy. The more the world watched their stories, the more their name became eternal. For an organization obsessed with symbolism and immortality, that's the ultimate victory. The Triad never truly dies, it evolves. Governments have declared war on them for centuries. Empires have fallen trying to erase them, yet the Triad always finds a way to adapt, reshape, and rise again, because it was never just an organization. It was an idea. The modern Triad doesn't always operate through violence anymore. It hides behind legitimate industries: technology, logistics, cryptocurrency, finance, and entertainment. Its structure is so decentralized that even if one branch is destroyed, others continue seamlessly elsewhere. That's by design. In 2020, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime reported an alarming trend. Triad networks had shifted heavily into cybercrime, data theft, and online gambling. From safe houses in Cambodia and Myanmar, they run sophisticated internet operations worth billions. The same ancient codes of loyalty now power digital empires spanning Asia, Europe, and North America. Triad groups like 14K and Sun Yee On maintain their traditions, but they've gone digital, replacing swords with servers and street meetings with encrypted chats. Money laundering is now done through NFTs and crypto wallets. The language of crime has changed, but the heartbeat remains the same. What keeps the Triad alive isn't just power, it's adaptability. Their oaths, symbols, and structure gave them something that modern gangs lack: identity. While other crime groups crumble from greed or infighting, the Triad's fusion of spirituality, discipline, and fear makes it nearly unbreakable. And there's a deeper reason governments can't eradicate them. They serve a purpose. In places where corruption thrives and justice is uneven, the Triad steps in to fill the gaps, offering loans, protection, and order, just as they did centuries ago. To the powerless, they still appear as dark benefactors. It's a haunting paradox. An empire of criminals born from the dream of justice. From temples to skyscrapers, from coded poetry to encrypted apps, the Triad has transcended time. You can shut down a gang, but you can't kill a belief system built on loyalty, family, and survival. So, the next time you see a headline about Triad arrests or gang wars, remember this. You're not witnessing their end. You're witnessing their evolution. Because the Triad isn't just history, it is the shadow that follows power wherever it goes. Ending plus CTA. The story of the Triad isn't just about crime. It's about humanity's obsession with loyalty, power, and identity. From the ashes of rebellion to the skyscrapers of modern Hong Kong, they've built an empire that's as invisible as it is indestructible. Their oaths echo across centuries, reminding us that sometimes the most dangerous organizations are the ones that start with noble intentions. If you found this journey through the secret world of the Triad fascinating, don't forget to hit like and share this video so more people can uncover the truth behind one of history's most mysterious brotherhoods. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the world's most powerful secret societies, lost empires, and untold histories. You can also join the channel to unlock exclusive content and behind-the-scenes videos, and if you'd like to support us directly, click the thanks button below. Every bit helps us continue exploring the hidden corners of history that few dare to reveal. Stay curious, stay alert, because the shadows of history are never truly gone.